right. Welcome everybody to the Third Academy Wednesday space. Today we are talking about student success stories. And we have a few of our students I'm going to invite up on the stage to speak today. And if anybody else would like to come up on stage, you're welcome to come up during this time, during the space today to share opinions, ask questions, and or share your story, because everybody is invited on this space today. So, like I said, today we are talking about student success stories. We love to hear about them, and because it's always inspiring, it's motivational, especially in the Web3 space, where sometimes it's a bit challenging, a bit tricky if you're new to the space. Maybe you don't really know the correct steps that you should take. Maybe after taking a course, how to showcase your skills, or even how to land employment. So I'm very excited for the space today. Um, so yeah, we're talking to Alibaba and Rebecca today, and we'd love to hear your Web3 origin stories of how you guys were able to take Third Academy courses and land careers and or get valid work experience in the Web3 space. Mariana is also here. Mariana, if you want to come up as a speaker and share your story during the process, you can let me know. Um, because Mariana is actually the head of marketing for Third Academy now, and she took a course with the Third Academy before working here. So it's kind of a cool story. All right, so let's get started. So let's start with how both of you first even heard about blockchain and Web3, because I know that um, when I first heard about it, I did not know what was going on. Somebody said NFT and tried to explain an NFT to me like a few years ago, and it was like, I have no idea what this is. You are totally not speaking in any language that I understand. But I'd love to hear from you. So let's start with Alibaba. Do you want to share your origin story? Like, how did you actually start learning about blockchain or Web3, and how did that come about for you?
Yeah, great. Good everyone. Yes, so my story goes back, I think pre 2019, just before the virus thing. So there was this intern that works with my friend. So anytime I go to my friend's office, I usually see this guy. He's always looking at the charts, right? And what comes into my mind when someone was looking at the chart was maybe this guy's into some forex thing. The word crypto hasn't been so widely used. So yeah, so when I got to the office one of these, yes, when I got to the office, I was like, what are you always hinged on and not like working, like doing their job? Because he was working, he was an intern at an architectural office. Yeah. So I was like, well, I trade crypto. And I was like, crypto? What do you mean by crypto? He said, yeah, there's what they call Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, and all of that. Well, I was like, wow, that's weird. Are you sure this is not some Ponzi thing? He told me, no, 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 no. It's far from Ponzi, right? It's an innovation. It's a technology that will be overtaking the current banking system. I was like, wow, you mean it? So this keeps happening until when I got so curious. You know what? Let me even get to buy into this whole story and see how it goes. So my story started when I bought, I think, is it BNB? I bought it at maybe $25 or some or thereabout. So I bought it and I forgot about it. Right? I forgot about it because I forgot my Binance password. So I forgot about it. I think I bought like couple of BNB, less than 8 units of BNB. So just after the because we had like because come on, I mean from Nigeria, so we had like lockdown for like 3 months. Like the whole country was practically shut down for like 8 weeks, and then the rest, like the other 4 weeks, everybody was in shambles. Like what could be happening? Yeah. So yes, everybody was not like all the offices were closed down. So when the offices got opened, like partially opened, I went to the office and luckily again I met this guy. He told me that, hello sir, can you remember the other time we were having this? Okay, yes, I bought into this BNB thing. And he said, wow, I think then BNB was trading somewhat close to like $100, right? So that was like 4x my initial investment. So that was the start of my story. So yeah, maybe I would say other Maybe I'll say more, maybe as the space goes. So yeah.
But yeah, so Rebecca, let's hear about your Web3 origin story, your like blockchain story. How did that happen? Like when, where, what were your first thoughts, and then basically what led you to really like getting into this space?
Hey Kali, thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm super excited to be here. And yeah, about my journey into Web3, it's all about, it all started in bits and pieces. So in 2021, I first started trading, and then in 2022 was when I saw myself writing an article about DAOs. I'm like, there was a freelance. I mean, I was a freelance writer back then, and then yeah, that was my first Web3 gig, and I didn't even know what a DAO was. And I went through it, I researched about it, and then I came across, okay, so Facebook, Meta, Amazon are all centralized, companies, and DAO is a decentralized version of it, wherein the ownership doesn't lie. I mean, it's not hierarchical order. The ownership is not in a hierarchical base. It's all flat. So yeah, and then I started reading about it more and writing about it more. So as I got more writing, as soon as I got writing gigs, I started learning about the different topics in Web3. And then finally, I got my big break into the space through a mega conference that happened locally called Web3 Conf. And that's where I actually came to know that it's a whole different version of the internet and people are building on top of it. And yeah, so that's my story. I know it's a little mixed. I mean, it's bits and pieces, but yeah, that's how I got into it. And since August, I've been exploring more and more, and yeah, that's about it.
I wrote some questions down that I have for you afterwards, based on what you just said. So,
Mhm.
so I
Okay,
love
okay, yeah,
hearing the
sure.
origin stories. Um, so and Mariana is here. So Mariana, if you want to share your origin story as well, because actually I don't know if I've even heard it, but like I said, Mariana is head of marketing at Third Academy. So how did you actually get into Web3 or even hear about blockchain for the first time?
Hey, morning or good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, actually, for me, it was, I think every story is different, and that's what makes it super fun. But in my case, I was in 2015, I was working for a user-generated content platform in Argentina. And it was a Latin American platform, pretty big. And we started like giving rewards to our users for creating quality content in Bitcoin, and that was like very innovative for the moment because just a few people know what Bitcoin was at that time. So then I started to like be curious about what was this new finance system and this new ecosystem. So I started like following the ecosystem and I was what was going on there. And I happened to marry a degen, so actually my life became a lot about finance and DeFi and everything related to crypto and things. So yeah, so that was my life, and my career started in Web 2, and I was like, my career was growing in Web 2. I was working the last 5 years. I worked on e-commerce, so it was okay, but actually, I found it like much more motivated. Much motivating the Web3 ecosystem, and when I started to learn about what was going on in the space and what was Web3 and NFTs and metaverses and everything. I wanted to be part of it. And then I started studying and I started learning about it and taking courses. And one of the courses I took was Third Academy one. I was one of the first cohorts, I think the second cohort of the Web3 marketing course. And that's how my journey started in Web3, I guess.
Awesome. I love that we had all of you guys share your origin stories, and they're all so different, but now we're all like here together. It's kind of cool. And like I said, if anybody else wants to, feel free to come up on stage, share your origin story, and share your opinions on what we're talking about as we go forward, and ask any questions that you may have. Stay focused. Says good to be here. Thanks for being here. So my next question for you three, and we can start same kind of what's it called, Q, I guess, Alibaba, Rebecca, then Mariana. In terms of Third Academy, so you find Third Academy, I'm guessing through social media or some other means, and you take the course. Can you share a little bit about taking the marketing course, or if you took the Metaverse Foundations course? But can you share a little bit about that, and then about how did you actually, in order to, after taking a course, gain either valid work experience or gain employment? And what was your personal process like? Or do you have any real time steps that you took or advice that you can share with us in terms of that, like, progression from course to gaining some experience in Web3?
Yeah. So well, before my third academy story, right? So how I came about the Web3 proper, not just the trading part, was I think I was in a coffee shop somewhere in Dubai, and unknowingly to me, they have there is an NFT project that has a pack for anyone who owns for anyone who owns that particular project. For anyone who owns a piece of their art, he has some sort of discount. Is it 15% on any sale he makes in the coffee shop? So I went with my friends and then we bought like 3 cups. I observed that he paid lesser than I did, and then I asked him what happened. And I was trying to explain how he owns an NFT, and part of the loyalty he has from the NFT is that he gets to have some discount and all of that. So I got more curious that okay, what could like what does that mean? That was the point. Like at that point, I get to know that there's an intersection between crypto and then NFT. So that whole thing, got me curious. Then I think these days, I think there's something more than just the trading. So at that point, I started researching what NFT means. I think that was like late 2020 when the NFT bubble was still, was still in check. And yeah, so aside that, I got to understand okay, there's even something more interesting, which is the DeFi, right? So I took my time, right? I took my time, and then I took some courses on Coursera then, and some courses on EDX, on what NFTs and DeFi means. So yeah, so that was the point where memes started, like when memes started being a thing. So yeah, so at that I was just learning what it means, and then I was taking some risks, and then those risks were making sense. And at the point, those risks were looking as if it's more of a gamble. So then I just took my, how about I don't gamble into the whole trading thing? Let me just understand this technology, right? So I found out that, at the center of it all is, you need to have some technical skills, like in terms of programming. And obviously, I couldn't have, given my whole in trying to learn the whole programming thing. How about I learn about the non-technical aspects, right? As a previous, project manager in the Web2 world, I felt like, I can actually bring my skills into Web3 and then be some sort of maybe product management or something related to that. At first, the marketing came on board. Like the marketing thing, piqued my interest. That was when I think I found out for the academy from a friend. I think probably on Reddit, right? Someone was trying to, was saying something on art cryptocurrency, and then something around so the academy came, into the whole conversation. Then, I took my time. I went to the Discord. I got a friend told me that he took the first court program, and now he thinks he might go for the second or he might not. Oh, I was curious. Oh, wow. So the next cohort is coming on. He said, yeah. The next cohort is coming on, and then I applied. Luckily, I was selected, and at that point, I needed to give my all because it was more like a live kind of session or a live kind of training, or like what you have on EDX or on Coursera. that maybe they are more like self-paced courses. I'm not paying for this course, then I need to at least give him my best to see that I get the best out of the course. So yeah, so that's how I got to get into the marketing side of Web3. So lucky for me, just before I finished the course, I got a job. I got a job with as a marketing manager with a DeFi protocol then. So I was like some weeks into the course, I was done with Third Academy, right? So after I was done with Third Academy. Luckily for me, again, I wrote a proposal to a marketing agency, and then I was accepted as a brand builder. So that was where my whole story started. I think I will say more as the space continues. Yeah.
Awesome. Yes. Again, I did write some questions down um, for you after. We'll get more detailed and I'll ask specific questions to each of you. But to continue on with that similar question, Rebecca, how did you first find out about Third Academy, and then from the course to actually gaining employment? What were some of the steps that you took in order to do that?
Kali, you already know my initial journey into Third Academy. So I was basically, this was back in September, October of 2022 when I had just graduated. I had graduated like in August 2022, and then September onwards, like I was looking for opportunities in Web3. So I came across, Third Web. So Third Web is basically this SDK, a development platforms. They were looking for a technical writer slash community manager. I'm not sure which one, but one of the two. And then yeah, so I was looking at that opportunity, and then I was like, simply browsing on the browser, and that's when I came across Third Academy. Simply, I don't know why, and what I just typed. So I came across Third Academy, and I landed on the Discord server. And I was there for the first session that I attended was on some blockchain protocol. You were discussing something on the voice, and then after the voice event got over, I was supposed to text you like, hey, you guys, I saw that you guys are looking for a technical writer, community manager. This was the Third Web was hiring, and I thought it was you guys who were hiring, and then I realized that no, Third Academy and Third Web is totally different. And yeah, that's how I came across Third Academy. And truth be told, you guys are doing amazing. You guys are doing an amazing job in the content, community, and the marketing side of Web3, because of you guys, I sort of fortified my skill set, networked with the right people, and yeah, that's how my actual journey was started. So Third Academy you guys have a lot of courses plus events in the Discord server, and I made sure that I was present, not in all, but at least in wherever I could join in. So the social media management call was where I was there, and it was like a really valuable session for I think 1 hour or something, and you even addressed some of my queries, and that was one course that I genuinely remember taking having a lot of key takeaways, and it has also helped me in sort of applying it right now, because right now I'm in a stage where I'm working with two organizations, and one organization I'm handling their social media channels. So yeah, that is that. And regarding the transition from learning phase to getting an actual job, it it was a very tough road for me because I did a lot of mistakes. Honestly, I didn't follow a roadmap. There was no roadmap. It was like a completely different zone, right? Like for in college, when you're in college, there are opportunities which are just coming at your doorsteps, and you just need to be prepared to take it. But when you decide to take on a career option which is totally different from what is available in your campus, that's like you're on your own, and there is there's no roadmap, there is nothing. So I basically learned from my mistakes, and I tried and tested and explored a lot of options. So one thing, I would like to clarify those. I would like to bring up those mistakes so that others don't repeat it. So you remember I told you about this Web3 conf that I attended, right? So one major mistake that I did was networking without having a good portfolio. Like, no wonder that I was working as a freelance writer for different clients, but those were not enough to, strengthen my portfolio. I had to actually, work harder, more hard on that portfolio to actually stand out. So yeah, that is one key takeaway. That is, networking without having a portfolio is next to nothing. And the second thing is, interviews without understanding the company values. So this is what was happening. I faced a lot of rejections while looking for an opportunity, like in Web3, in blockchain space. And yeah, so those rejections were, I mean, obviously rejections are not easy to handle, but ultimately I channelized those, rejections. Basically, I jotted down what exactly was lacking in the interview process in me, and I made sure that I, churned myself up and molded myself was, getting a lot of, I mean, my knowledge was strengthened about community, about technical writing, about content writing. And then next thing was networking. So basically, right now, the way I have got my job in Web3 is through networking. I didn't even have to go through an interview. I never went through an interview for any organization that I work with. Even the second organization that I'm working with, I was not interviewed. I was just selected based on my portfolio, based on my brand across the socials. So that is how it is. You should, put yourself out there and make sure to market yourself. Basically, market yourself how? With the knowledge that you're gaining. Every time you learn something, you gain something, you have your own opinions about it. And that's it. You present yourself out there and people are noticing. It's not that your your hard work is going futile. No, people are noticing. So that's how I transitioned from, learning and to finally actually getting on the field and getting a job.
That was awesome. I really loved how you kind of shared some of those tips or like the mistakes that you made early on. And you're not alone. I made those mistakes as well. The portfolio one was a big one. And I felt kind of like, I don't know why I didn't do that sooner. I don't know why I didn't realize that I needed that earlier. That was kind of my a part of my story as well. But as soon as I had that, everything changed. So that's a huge lesson. So Mariana, did you want to share from course to employment? Like, how did you find Third Academy, and how did you transition from like the learning phase to working in Web3?
Well, yeah, actually, I agree with the tips that Rebecca and Ali both gave. I think those were great points. In my case, I was actually leaving my comfort zone, starting out in a completely new space for me, and especially coming from, I mean, I was commercial director in a Web2 e-commerce company, so I was quite like, yeah, I think. Uh, I think that the dynamics of this space, it's so different because you kind of you need to be learning all the time. I think this is one of the biggest changes because I was working in e-commerce, and even if there's a lot of new things, it's not nearly as much as new things as you can find on the Web3 space. So actually the space demands a lot from you, and when I started like learning from like formal courses, and I joined communities. And actually, I found Third Academy from a Search Women community, which is a great one. And I think there was a partnership with Third Academy and Search, and I heard from the course in Search, and that's how I joined Third Academy. And first, when I started learning about Web3 marketing, what I realized is I actually had a lot of skills that like transferable skills. And the thing is, when you start in the space, you don't know what you know and what you don't know, if it makes sense, because you are like a little bit lost on how can you use your skills for Web3, and what is different and what is actually so I don't know, similar or even the same. So actually, I think Third Academy helped me a lot on building my confidence, about knowing what were the things that I can really use from my previous experiences, and actually building confidence, and help you like mapping the space to understand like the key elements, or probably the key players in the space. That was really helpful for me, like taking the course. And yeah, actually, I think it was a month after I left, after I finished the course, then yeah, I started on Third Academy. I saw job opening, and yeah, I kind of I applied. So yeah, but I agree with all your comments about like building a portfolio and trying to connect with people on the space. Those are like key, elements to be part of, or to find a job in the space.
Yeah, I agree, and I think like your story is very inspiring as well, and also like the skills, because I think so many people come into Web3, and I think this was kind of maybe a narrative that happened almost a year ago or previously, where it was like we need Web3 native people in these roles, but and then a lot of people were coming in interested in Web3, interested in getting employment, but they were like, well, all I've ever had is like, Web2 jobs, so how can I even step into this space? But just like you said, like, all we don't lose our skills. And one of the biggest things I think, similar to that, kind of, it's a bit different, but I was talking to a veteran before, and they were like, well, veterans all usually have this mentality that, like, well, now I have to go into a new job and everything is new. But veterans aren't entry level talent. They have so many skills from what they've learned throughout their years of being um in the army, right? So it's kind of like, I know that's totally different aspect. I don't know if anybody's
Now,
been in the army, but it's the same thing, right?
I see your point. No, exactly, because sometimes you have like a career in some other industry. For example, it was my case. I had like a full career, and it took him a lot of time and effort to build that career in Web2. So when you start over, you say, okay, but now do I have to start as an, in an internship? And the thing is, you don't, because if you know how to work with the skills you already have, you don't need to start working as an entry level position, and you can really like start like applying all the knowledge you already have in Web3, and it's not necessary like it's not like you have to start over. So I totally see your point.
Yes, I agree. So I think that's one of the key takeaways here today as well. Is like, if you're coming from Web 2, or you don't yet feel like you have experience in terms of like Web 3, you still have skills. You still have probably had a vibrant career that is very valuable to Web 3 companies. So I wanted to go back, Alibaba. I had a question. So can you share some of the things that you have been doing since, like, in the role that you have? And I had a question about what you said, you're a brand builder. Can you talk a little bit about what that is, and some of the things that you do now?
Oh yeah. So so I was a brand builder with a marketing agency, and then what I do there was that we had clients, that comes in so that we can rejig their marketing strategies, and then we work on some certain metrics, right? So maybe they want, at least they want to attain a particular fit, so they will give us, like, say, a target, and then my own role as a brand builder is to bring out not just strategies. I also have to deduce out applicable strategies that are going to yield results, right? So is it that do we need to have some, like, some influencers, or do we need to pitch in the project at, using some PR methods, or do we need to host interviews? Do we need to go for X number of in real life events? do we need to be at this point, and then at this time? So these are some of the strategies we were working on, or I was working on specifically as a brand builder, is to ensure that the project gets to a particular fit within a particular period of time. Sometimes it might be a bit too ambitious from the client, but then at the tail end, at least you should be somewhere close to 70%, or close to 80% in line with what the clients want. So yes, that was when I was still at the marketing agency. So I had to leave for another project, which is what I'm working on right now. I got in as a core team with a tokenization platform. I don't think it's proper for me to shield the project anyway, but then it's a tokenization platform where businesses, enterprises, creators come in and then they tokenize their whatever, like you can even come and tokenize yourself, just like ETF. So I got in as the lead in their media and news team. So I co-lead the media team as well as the news team. So at the news team, what the other half of the news team, what we do is, just like you have Tech Cabal or Binance News. So we publish news on a daily basis around things that are happening within the tech space, and specifically the Web3 space. And then during the weekends we roll out what happened over during the week, and then sends newsletters. Yes, so that's what the news arm was doing, whereas the media arm was managing the contents that were on our channels, right? From TikTok to YouTube to LinkedIn, Twitter, or Reddit page, and even we had a 4chan, a 4chan thread. So yeah, so that was more like what I was doing, or what I'm doing at the moment at Unit Network.
And do you have maybe a lesson, or what's like the biggest thing do you think that you've learned in terms of marketing, or like even if you wanted to share as a link in our chat, like the news that is being produced, because I think that'd be cool to like be able to see, or maybe later we can share it in our Discord. But what do you think is like the biggest lesson that you think you've learned so far in terms of marketing, or even in like the Web3 space in general?
Yes, in terms of marketing, I think sometimes we don't actually need to follow um, our strategies religiously, right? So maybe you might have a marketing strategy for like 3 months, or maybe for like a month, and when you start, the strategies might need to retweak as you go on, right? Maybe there's something happening within the week that you'd never envisage. In the course of coming up with the strategy, you may need to re-strategize in order to have that in line, so that the whole general plan makes a lot of sense. And also, community wise, a lot a lot of information needs to be out there to the community. Like a lot of things might some little things or some little updates might be happening in terms of the product side, but then for a reason or so, the team might not feel there is any need to actually publicize this to the community. So what I learned is that no matter how little the update might be, super important to actually share it with the community. That way, they really know that the core business arm, which is the product, is still in the work, and then it is happening, instead of leaving it in the loop or waiting for the specific time to go public about it. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm sure everybody agrees as well, or if you've experienced it. I know in terms of like some of the marketing that we're doing, or marketing that I've done for others, like going back and looking at what's working and what's not working is very helpful. And sometimes you think something's going to work amazing and it doesn't, and then something that you're like weren't as positive about in the beginning starts to take off. It's really weird, but I guess the market tells us what they want. So Rebecca, I had some questions for you. First of all, when you said like your entree into Web3 was through, you got into doing some technical writing. How did you get into those gigs? what were some of the things that you learned in terms of like the writing aspect? And you talked about portfolio being really important. Like, how did you actually start to develop your portfolio and put that together? If there's any like actual technical tips for that or anything that you want to share a little bit more on tips for portfolio making.
Okay, so regarding, I'll start with the writing, how I got, how I used to get gigs. So basically, when you are, looking for opportunities as a writer or even as a freelancer, basically as a freelancer, there are two ways you can do that. One is through inbound leads and one is through outbound approach. So inbound is basically, you marketing yourself, socially, publicly across all your social media channels, and people basically approaching you and sliding into your DMs and asking you whether you're available for this or whether you're available for that. The second one is outbound, wherein you are sliding into the DMs or cold mailing some prospect, some company, whether they are gonna be need, whether whether they will need your services or that you can provide so and so services to revamp the website or update the blogs or something like that. So these are the two approaches. So the major thing that worked for me is outbound. So inbound, you cannot just rely on people dropping into your DMs one fine day and giving you this high paying gig. Like it's a process, but it's very slow. So in order to make freelancing work for you, what's better is cold outreach, cold DMs. So you need to be very good at this approach, wherein it's like basically a copywriting skill, wherein you have to make sure that the cold DM is well crafted so that it strikes the eye of the potential client, if of your potential client, who can be providing you with some task or some gigs later. So that is one thing, cold DMs. And the second one is cold mailing. So what happens is, this is basically like what do you say, proposing to another person. So you need to ensure that your proposal is really good, really tempting, and it is not going to be rejected. So those are the two outbound tricks that I have implemented. And the third one is hashtags. So hashtags also play a very crucial role. So what happens is, whenever a person is looking to hire someone, like publicly, they tend to put a lot of hashtags so that the post or the message is reachable and it reaches wider audiences, because many people follow hashtags. For instance, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, there's no follow as such, but yeah, hashtags are discoverable when you just type it across in the search bar. So this is the third approach which I used. I used to basically, search into the search bar hashtag freelance writer or hashtag Web3 writer or hashtag technical writer. And there would be like a bunch of, posts or tweets appearing in my feed. So I would check that out, and then again, cold DM, hit a cold DM, and that's how it is. Boom. You either get a client or you sort of increase your network in the same space, in the same field, in the same industry that you're looking forward to work in. So this is how I would get my clients, and as a freelance content writer or technical writer, and that's how I got the few gigs that I got into Web3. So yeah, and the next thing is about portfolio. Portfolio is the important thing that is gonna help you land a job. So one thing I would say, there are two aspects to it. One is building in public, and second one is updating your constantly updating your proof of work. So portfolio is equal to your proof of work. Proof of work is basically the work that you have done in the past. It is not just a Google Drive link, guys. You have to make sure that it is beyond a Google Drive link. So there are platforms like Notion. You can even use Google Docs to such an extent. I prefer the functionalities offered by Notion. So Notion has a lot of options. It has an option to create a gallery board. It has an option to create a table. It has an option to create a page. So yeah, those are the important tools that you need to ensure that your profile is set on. You cannot just, again, I'm just repeating this. You cannot just and keep your portfolio on a Google Drive link. So yeah, move beyond that. And then building in public. Building in public is essentially your work that is visible online. So you write a blog. Will you be just listing it on a Google Drive? No, right? You have to publish it openly, either on Medium or Hashnode. So that's what is the meaning of building in public. And then you need to also channelize your social media handles. So now I have given a talk at a college, and then I post about it. So that essentially may or may not land another opportunity for me. So that's what I have been doing. I've been basically marketing myself. That is another form of portfolio, wherein your social media handles speak for whatever you do, whatever you are doing. And the third thing again is all about crafting a well documented piece on Notion, wherein you clearly document your journey of what you have been doing and attest a feedback or attest a recommendation that yes, this person has actually worked with so and so prospect. Like for instance, you can either ask your freelance client for a recommendation on LinkedIn, or just a short testimony of how the article has ranked on Google, or how it has helped him gain revenue or something like that. Some just don't restrict it to the ghost. I mean the blogs or the write-ups that you have written. Make sure that there is a additional supporter that supports that proves that you have actually done that work. So yeah, and it's all about documenting how you have worked with your clients on the go. I think, yeah, that's all about how to, land freelance clients and building a good portfolio.
Yeah, that was awesome. I think if I'm gonna have this for YouTube, so sorry, I think Mariana will, but we will upload this onto YouTube after so that everybody can kind of listen back, because those are some amazing tips, and even if we uh go back and listen and take the best tips from each speaker and share them to Discord and YouTube after. Um, because portfolio, I think, again, portfolio is like one of the biggest things in order to get into any job, really, to showcase what you're doing. And those were great tips, especially the building in public. I think the people that I see actually taking the time to build in public and to share what they know, actually, I've seen people get into some amazing roles. I know one of them, I think her name is Liz, but I was following her on Twitter, and she got into a job with partnerships for Unstoppable Domains. And I kind of watched her progress from sharing what she was learning in Web3 to landing that role. So it was amazing. So, Mariana, did you want to share? I'd love to know from you, because I know that you have so much knowledge in this area. Like, what's the biggest thing do you think you've learned so far in terms of Web3 marketing? And also, like, on that note, how do you think people that are in marketing, interested in marketing, should start to showcase their skills as well? Because I even, if you want to, based on Mariana, if your links in your Twitter, if you want to check out Mariana's LinkedIn page, it's amazing the way she kind of showcases her own skills.
Oh, thank you. I think, yeah, I think what is more important in this space is that you find what you're passionate about, because there's so many fields that you can, I mean, when you're looking for a job, sometimes you try to reach too much, and sending like applications, for example, it's not something that it's going to work if you're not passionate about the project you really want to work on. So I think you need to like understand what do you really like, but and to start like working towards that goal. For example, if you're really passionate about finance, okay, you should go for that. If you're really passionate about experiences and the metaverse, and you should try to find a project that match your passion. I guess that's something that's really important. And regarding like marketing, I think the best the most valuable lesson I have is like, unlike the classical Web2 marketing that we learn at college or school or whatever. I think we have in Web3, it's like, empowered users, like people that are really active and you know again, like passionate about what they are doing and learning, and so you cannot like simply like go and promote something. You really need to add value to what you're doing, otherwise it won't work. It's like, you really need to be careful on okay, if I'm planning this, if I'm doing this in this, what's the value for the community on this thing that I'm offering? Otherwise, it's not going to work. I think that's something you need to keep in mind when you're working on marketing in Web3. And also that you need to understand that this is very dynamic. Something that I do weekly is like I schedule time for learning. I have scheduled time for researching every day, and I kind of I'm committed to take one course every week, even a short course, even a short, let's say sometimes it's a mini tutorial like the ones we're doing in our channel, like 20 minutes, 15 minutes, or probably an hour, but that's something you need to keep doing. You need to keep learning. Otherwise, it's things happen too fast. So I think on my side, I think that's a tip I have. Like keep learning, keep doing things, even if it takes a lot of effort sometimes because you have a lot of work and it's not that easy to say, okay, I'm going to do a course every week. But if you keep like researching projects and learning about the space, that's going to increase your chances to have better jobs every time and to like keep improving your work every day.
That was a great tip. I love that one. Setting time aside for learning. I know like it's easier when I set my Google Calendar up to allow me to do that. I don't know how you plan your time, but I've learned that the hard way because I used to just run off no calendar. It was so how do you actually like plan your time in order to be able to do that each week?
I block the space and I have a Notion page for interesting things. So when I'm like doing other thing and I find something interesting, I drop the link there, and I have you know, I literally block a space in my in my calendar every day to do that. Uh, it's often at the end of the day, like for me, like at 7 8 p.m. Before dinner. So I know like my mind is not on my work anymore. I can focus on that, and I have free time for to do that. And yeah, that's what I do.